Ion was last week. Even the Tryndamere we don't speak of too often. But look at this blue side ban to start off the proceedings.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to remove Lee Sin themselves. Very interesting banning going on here. Janna going to be taken off the board as well. Of course, Rosie doesn't like playing Janna. He wants to be making plays. He doesn't want to be disengaging. LeBlanc and Azir, though, so very heavily focusing on Swiffer at this stage. 3 Swiffer bans right out of the gate, and that leaves Cassidy open, and Swiper wastes no time.
So much respect to Swiffer there. That's a big call. The Ahri ban probably makes the most sense to me. We're still on patch 5.2. This is still the monstrous Ahri. But after that Cassidy pick, Narvan seems to be the flavor of the day, at least of the hovers.
Yeah, actually, Fortnite going to lock it in here as well. And when you tunnel so hard into one lane, it leaves all of the others so incredibly open. And with that Cassidy, it's only one pick that you can go for. And they could have gone Narvan, they could have gone, Rumble Jarvan as well. A fantastic mid-game combination that gets a lot of wins there, but Narvan is fantastic and easily going to be able to really take control of that mid-game if they do get there. But Chiefs, they now have an opportunity to respond, and we'll see what they have. Of course, Cassidy is a flex pick here. I haven't seen Swiper play it too often, but everyone knows that Swiffer is one of those Cassidy gods.
Swiffer loves the Cassidy. If you cast your mind back to the first big Oceanic event, PAX Australia 2013, the pentakill on Cassidy in a loss there. He loves that champion. I have to think it's a mid pick, but they're going to leave it open for now as we see the big lock in. I see you even take a step back with the champs locked in.
Because Radier, he hasn't showed his hand on this Kalista yet. Not once has he gone for it, and now going to be locking it in. And with that jungle spot already taken, of course, he's going to be in the top lane, guaranteed. So you're not going to have a top lane Jarvan. No Vi's to come through, and they've taken away the Morgana here as well. It's a fantastic opportunity to pick up this Kalista, and I'm excited to see Radier, of course, such a top-tier AD carry, utilizing this incredibly mechanical, heavy AD carry.
And he's moving away from the Corki picks, the more safe meta picks, the Trinity Force carries, and moving on to a hyper carry. Kalista definitely. We've seen some very polarizing Kalista results in the OPL. You'll remember the first game that we've already spoken about, the Legacy versus Chiefs game. The Kalista there really did struggle, and we've seen that flavor. If you have a really strong frontline tank like Swiper's Scion was in that game, you can struggle. But man, if you get the Black Shield on, if the fight starts, the CC's down, then Kalista shows up, she can put out amazing damage.
She can, and the answer here from Fortnite is going to be that Graves Leona sort of kill lane there on the bottom side. We've seen mixed results across the regions with Kalista's taking on this Graves, and Graves can have an opportunity to win that lane.
Yeah, I mean, he's a short range, but in lane, I mean, you can already see the burst potential coming out from all that CC and then the short range spells from CNJ on the Graves. CNJ was actually one of the players we highlighted in an article pre-season. He struggled in week 1. He's going to look to step up against some really stiff competition in Radier.
Yeah, this is going to be the second time he picks up that Graves as well. Hasn't had that much success so far. Of course, seen most of his victories on that Ezreal. Played a bit of Caitlyn here as well, but his Graves, we'll see whether it can stand up against the lineup of the Chiefs. And they're looking to round this one out. We'll see what Swiffer decides to take into the mid lane, whether it is going to be that Cassidy, and it is. And Spooks has Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai is still so powerful. We wondered how she would perform after the small nerfs in the recent patches.
Yeah.
She's still really damn strong in the jungle.
Yeah.
If you can get ahead, and of course this is Spooks we're talking about, someone who had 80% kill participation, really choked other junglers for life, and Carbon even on Legacy struggling against Spooks. If you get that neural network down and the enemy never really can get into your jungle because of the pressure you're putting out, the global presence is so amazing.
And now Fortnite trying to round out their comp. Of course, Xerath is being looked at here. Moya has had mixed results on that. Xerath actually picked up a couple of victories in the OCS. But Lissandra also available as well, and that will be so much CC and lockdown. And the engage potential coming through from Fortnite is ridiculous.
And it's not like we have a split push comp on the Chiefs side. Of course, Kalista can opt into split push if she picks up the Hurricane. But this might be team fight meeting team fight, which, you know what that means, Atlas? That means fireworks coming out on the Rift.
Yeah, and these are Oceanic teams as well. They're going to want to get into this team fighting as soon as possible. But do they have enough? Do they have enough in order to get on top of this Kalista here as well? Because, of course, Rosie's there with the Dark Binding. Swiffer is going to be causing so much trouble to the backline using that Rift Walk to stay safe. And Swiper, We saw his Scion before. He becomes unkillable.
And this is Graves, a short-range AD carry. He does synergize very well with standard items, so he does go the Infinity Edge route. He can tank bust to a degree, but from such short range, if you have so many threats in your face, there's only so much you can do as Graves. So it's just a really interesting comp. And one thing I'll say for Fauna, we'll discuss this a bit more in a moment, but this isn't off-meta picks. This is some very standard picking coming out from Fauna. They've abandoned the Wukong Orianna. They've abandoned the Rise. We've got very strong lanes coming out. And this is definitely, if you're doing a scouting report on Fauna last week, it's kind of night and day when you're talking about the picking strategy here.
Yeah, it's very different to what we've seen coming out from Fortnite, and maybe it's a change. Maybe the change is what they need in order to get themselves back into winning form. And this team comp, we've seen it before, and it does work. But are they going to have enough damage in the late game? Of course, Lissandra a little bit more maybe utility-based, but if you build her from the mid lane, you're going to have a lot of that damage, I guess.
It's a lot focusing on Graves, a short-range AD carry. Still team fights very well. They do have some damage, but yeah, it does pale in comparison to what the Chiefs are putting out, because Rek'Sai puts out so much damage from the jungle. When we saw Carbon go very aggressive item build with the Trinity Force. Probably not going to see that here unless this game goes very one-sided very early. But you do have that option as Rek'Sai, because the Q procs the Trinity Force so often. You get all that damage in. Even just with a warrior, it does very respectable damage. Scion, not really known for his damage, known for just kind of silly things in the backline with CC and Choo Choo Train ultimates. He's a funny champion, is Scion. But Kalista and Kassadin, the double Ks there, so much hyper carry damage coming out from Chiefs. Fortnite are going to have to be really on point with their rotations in the early game, or I think they're going to struggle late game.
And it's also going to be really hard managing these Kalista Ren sets as well that are going to be coming through, because of course as soon as one person dies, things are going to start becoming a problem here for Fortnite, because they're of course a man down, and Kalista is slowing everyone on the team to high heaven. That Ren ridiculously powerful, especially when you start winning these fights. She almost creates aces every single time. You either completely lose a fight or you destroy it.
She kind of warps fights, because it's kind of like you need to keep that CC, you need to keep the lockdown or the dive ready for whenever she shows her head, because we've seen even in competitive games across the region, if you kind of disrespect the Kalista or you use everything to pick someone else, like the Kassadin, for example, who'll be diving into the front line, Kalista's a bit like the old APE days where you got one kill and then suddenly it became 4. It's not an ultimate being used here, though. It's just literally spreading those Rens, applying them, and then again, you have the AoE slow, you can continue going, and with the Hurricane especially, spreading that rend, it's just devastating.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. Also going to have a lot of wave clear as well, as you mentioned earlier on. So there is the opportunity for that split push, of course. A lot of her kit does rely on having your support with you, so you can use that Fate's Call, throw them into the fight, get that knock up, make everything happen. And Rosie, he's going to be very excited to be able to get in there and use that Soul Shackles.
Soul Shackles, positioning's so easy when you have Fate's Call with the Kalista ultimate. That's why we see so much Kalista Annie. It's the most obvious thing ever. You don't need to have the flash necessarily. You can get in there with the Kalista ultimate. Kalista Maokai even has become a thing in China, just respecting the strength of that Fate's Call, because gap closing is hard as a support. You're squishy. You don't necessarily always have your flash up. You have to use it defensively sometimes when you're scouting for wards. Having effectively a gap closer be granted to you, it's a big deal.
Oh, it certainly is. And the thing that I'm scared of on the side of the Chiefs here today is the long-range engage potential to come through from Fortnite, especially if Carlos is God, who is a fantastic top laner in his own right, of course going up against arguably one of the top laners in the region, but he is a fantastic player, and if he gets the teleport flanks, if they land those solar flares onto Radia, they could make him a non-factor from the word go.
And we see a lot of the Morgana Kalista flavor just because it's very strong against single AP teams, because if you can't pop the black shield, you can get so much consistent damage in. Against double AP, it's just going to get blown up in the AoE that comes out, and it's less useful. So it is a single AP comp, but it is the Lissandra, and Radia's definitely prime target number 1. He's the VIP that's being protected, so there will be a lot of damage coming in. It's going to be difficult to keep him alive, but the payoff, we've seen it so many times. Once Kalista gets going, it's just crazy. Yeah,
and once the QSSs and the Mikhail's Crucibles come through as well, not going to be stunned up, not going to have too much trouble against all of this CC, not to mention the Black Shield being there as well, which we've already covered. He's going to have a lot of protection come that late game, but if Fortnite can put the pressure on early before he has access to any of these tools, things could become a problem, especially if C and J becomes massive on this Graves, because it gets to the point where he can just burst her down instantly.
Yeah, but can he burst down the Scion in his face? That's the big problem he faces.
I think we can just say flat out right now that he can't.
I mean, he got so big on Scion last time. It was like 4,000 health, 400 armor. You can get massive on Scion, but a massive thing's happening. The OPL's starting up.
Yeah, we are onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, with the Chiefs taking on Fornot. The Chiefs are going to be on our blue side for this game, and Fornot on the red. And thus far, just fanning out. Of course, this does tend to be the flavor, doesn't it? Of course, the first game, everyone wanting to be a little bit more relaxed. Moya gets a ward down that mid lane just to scout out exactly who's going to be hanging around here, and it's going to be Radia, so mid lane Callista, obviously.
Oh, that's definitely going to be the result. I mean, we could switch back a few metas and have the AD carry support in the mid lane, but probably not necessary against Lissandra.
It has to be an Ashe, right?
The smart choice.
Yeah. The Fjordian...
Freljord? We're really on top of our lore here.
Pronunciation's fantastic.
Freljord, there we go. I got it. Nailed it.
Freljordian lore. Wonderful. Spook's going to be hanging out around his blue buff, so not going to utilize that bottom lane in order to help with the leash, and we'll see whether the Chiefs want to go for some sort of early level 2 by taking away those Krugs on the bottom side. They are able to do that if they want to. Neither team's getting too many deep wards down, but you can see Fornot do have one in that lower tri-brush. But no lane swaps to be coming down. That's some important information here, because often, you know, Graves doesn't do as well against Callista in these early levels.
It's true, and it's a very interesting level 1 just because despite being single target, with Rend you are actually able to push out decently well on Callista if you enter lane early. So taking Krug is actually kind of an issue, because then you get pushed in by Graves, and if Graves is playing under your turret, you're reading Buckshot, Harass, getting last hits, it's really hard for this lane. Rosie's face-checking in the bottom lane, though.
Yeah, actually heading straight over there. Swiper's going to be clearing out these ones, doing a little bit of cute work where he's going to use his passive in order to execute himself and then kill the Raptors. Very fun. Going to get an early level 2 here and then teleport back to that lane. It's taken a little while. Carlos's God is there still, but of course death time is not going to be a thing at all. As you saw, Rosie taking half of his health, face-checking that brush. Zaldo actually used his Ignite there in that exchange, so maybe a little bit preemptive. But the Chiefs able to reset this wave and continue the pressure.
And to give the viewers an update, he lost out on all melee minions in the top wave, but of course getting the instant 2 means he'll have a significant experience advantage in the top lane.
And actually losing 3 minions, but picking up 4 by taking those Raptors. But we do have an engager on the bottom side. Dark Binding lands onto CNJ. Radia trying to dance around the Rend. Onto Zaldo here as well, but Radia takes a lot of damage from that one and has to start respecting this Fornot bottom lane.
Yeah, but just because the Ignite is done does not mean they do not have burst potential to take down Radia. The base stats are not high on the Callista, and it's a very tentative lane in the bottom lane.
And I really like how Rosie and Radia are utilizing Callista's passive in order to last hit these minions as quickly as possible. You can see that extra true damage doing some work. Radia actually zoned out of a couple of creeps there as well as CNJ. On a lot more health. And this is what happens when you've got a Graves who's just a lane bully and so durable as well with that passive. Can become an issue here on this bottom side.
And they definitely have a different flavor of jungler coming out. It's not the Lee Sin that we were used to last week. It's not going to be as much early skirmish pressure. That's not to say Callista can't gank pre-6, but it needs a little bit more setup time, especially against some of the gap closers available on the other team.
But once Spooks has that level 6, I mean, we were talking about the fact that he has so much presence around the map. You add Void Rush into that, and he's going to be everywhere at once.
You see Naya's trying to be the first person to pick up this neutral objective, the Krug. Of course, 65 damage, actually be 85 damage for Spooks if he takes it.
Does get the knock up here. Moya comes around first before Swiffer, though, and there's the Glacial Prison coming through. Oh my gosh, Spooks goes down for first blood. Moya picks that kill. Oh my goodness, upsetting. Misses the flash over the Dragon Pit. Rosie, he's collapsed straight away. Lands a nice Dark Binding. Swiffer taking down solo. CNJ picks up the kill. Naya is going to be the next option as Radia is here. Zaldo is going to pile in. Radia has to blow that flash, as does Rosie. A lot of respect for this now. Double buffs Graves.
Atlas, there must have been a sale on double buffs today because they're just passing around all over the map. I believe there was 3 different changes of the double buffs during that exchange. A lot of credit must go to Fornot. They were the first to react. It was actually Cassidy reacting much later in that exchange. Usually Swiffer and Spooks are on the same level, but they were delayed. As we go into the replay, look how long it takes for Swiffer to react to this 2v2. Spooks is basically dead. eventually dies. That's the first double buff exchange. The fail flash from Moya gives Swiffer the double buff, so it's been 2 exchanges. We're keeping score over here, ladies and gentlemen. And then C&J comes in. He wants some double buffs. Radiant gets 1, 2, 4 exchanges. I misspoke. And both AD carries end this exchange double buffed.
Well, that's actually a lot better news, of course. Didn't notice that Radiant had picked those up. So the bottom lane's still going to be even, theoretically.
The even double buff bot lane. Worth.
Glacial Path going to be used here from Moya. Oh my gosh, Swiffer with so much damage from that Force Pulse. Moya has to be very careful. He has to go back.
That's actually a level 1 Force Pulse. And why did it do that surprising damage? We see there. This is the flavor of Swiffer. Rod of Ages, Catalyst into Blasting 1, into Recipe for most people. Nope, just pick up the Blasting 1 for a bit of more early trading.
Yeah, we've seen this before, but I love it coming from Swiffer, of course. Such an aggressive player. More than happy to pick that one up very early on. And Moya paying for it. Maybe he didn't press tab first, but that was so much burst to come through from Swiffer, who's now healing himself up using that flask. Swiper going for the standard Scion build. Wants to get as many of those resistances as possible and use that passive to stack up his health. And in the bottom lane, Radiant and C&J facing off once again. Radiant now with actually a farm advantage after a difficult early situation, but Wave is pushing. Oh my goodness, Zaldo actually going in very aggressively with that Zenith Blade. Rosie could be the focus here as he's getting bursted down. He's gonna die. C&J picks up that kill, and Naya with a nice gank.
We're starting to see a return to form for Fornot. In the first week, we did not see the team that breezed through qualification so convincingly, but there's some smart early jungle pathing from Naya. First to contest that the Scuttle Crab first and pick up the first kill in that trade, and then wonderful pathing down bottom to surprise Rosie.
Yeah, and Spook's now looking for a tunnel onto Moya here as Swiffer's going to go in. Moya gets taken down so low, but it's not going to be enough. The teleport to come through from Carlos' God going to get cancelled, and the Chiefs try to make a play. Of course, that ultimate was still available from Moya. That Glacial Path was all he needed. But meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Zaldo's going to kill Radia.
Yeah, Swiper tried to counter-teleport to help with that engage, but the Zenith Blade comes in from Leona, and death comes to Radia.
And might be showing a little bit of uncomfortableness on this Kalista. We know that he hasn't picked her up too much. Is Darkbinding going to find Zaldo here? The Puddle going to do a little bit of work as Spooks is just trying to soak some experience, stop the damage on this tower. But so far, a fantastic start for Fornot early on in this game. And we told you, this is going to be part of their win conditions. As Swift is going to die in the mid lane here as well. And there is action all over this map.
Across the map, people are dying in transition. It was actually Moya who was the person who, against Legacy, kept dying on Orianna and never got to a fight on a very teamfight utility-focused champion. It's the same story here for Swiffer, though. Caught trying to poke his head out on Kassadin.
Yeah, we'll see whether they can bounce back from this one. Of course, a lot of hyper scaling and carry potential coming through on the side of the Chiefs, but you have to think with a lineup like this that is so engage heavy, having a start like this is a dream for Fornot, because if they're on the front foot, this is exactly what they want. No Dragon's going to be gone for just yet, though, 8.5 minutes into this game. As Swiper, he's going to get cataclysmed here from Naya, taking a lot of damage.
And you have to feel like the Chiefs, one thing you might say, at least in the first 8 minutes, it feels like in terms of preparation for this game and even execution, they might be looking past because they have a big match against Direwolves next. There's theoretically, it could be 2 undefeated teams going into it. But Fornot are no pushovers. They showed that in qualification. They didn't have the best first week for sure, but they're turning it on here, at least at the start.
And maybe this was all part of the plan for Fornot. They knew that the Chiefs was going to be a really difficult matchup, and they had to get a win on the board, so they threw the first 2 games.
That's very likely, Atlas. That's how competitive sports work.
Yeah, thank goodness I'm not a pro player, because that's a bad idea, ladies and gentlemen. Swift are going to be continuing to clear out these minions, as he doesn't quite have that Catalyst yet, but with that Blasting one, going to be able to build up towards that Rod of Ages relatively quickly. 9.5 minutes into the game, may have that one by about 12, as Spook's going to take away his red buff here as well. Void Rush is available, did just use it in order to get down to that red, and you can see a lot of tunnels able to be used to get around this map and get him between jungle camps as well. So he might just put his jungle on farm at this stage.
Well, I mean, with the completed jungle item for Spooks, you have to say that's what he's going for. No chilling smite no chilling smite warrior enchantment coming here. He's going to stick with the Rangers Trailblazer. Definitely the farming thought. You can see that with the CS values already, but it does give you that one less option in a team fight.
And you can see there's some nice warding all the way along the river here for the Chiefs. Know exactly when Fortnite are going to be crossing over to their side, but you can see Fortnite, a lot of deep vision here as well, especially on that top side, but maybe not the right focus here as far as those wards are concerned, because the Dragon obviously looking like the next point of contention here, especially in the Chiefs' minds, as Naya is going to poke his head here onto this bottom side. Dark Binding going to land on the CNJ. Spooks is here as well. It's going to be the 3-on-3. CNJ gets destroyed. Radiant picks up his first reset. Naya trapped in his own Cataclysm. There's the double kill coming through from Kalista. Carlos is gone. Tries to find the Gnar, but doesn't get it. And pegs a house at Rosie in his frustration.
The mechanics let Fortnite down massively in that fight. Naya committed to the flag too early, could not get a flag and drag combo in, and Moya trying to pick up a ward's probably going to die.
Oh my gosh, that knock-up was so perfectly timed from Spooks, and we spoke about him being everywhere yet again. Let's look at this one again.
We jump into the replay, look at the flag that comes in, he completely misses 3 members of Chiefs and dies instantly. Then he's committed to the Cataclysm, doesn't cancel it early. The double kill comes out to start with. Unfortunately, the ult is also whiffed on now. It's a bit of a comedy of errors there for Fortnite, undoing their hard work in the first 10 minutes.
And they also used the teleport here as well, which allowed Swiper to get that top outer turret here as well. And Chiefs, although Fortnite had a fantastic early stage, when they coordinate their fights, they just look so good.
And against a top team gifting an early lead, suddenly out of nowhere, 1,600 gold lead for the Chiefs, who previous to that engage were, I believe, 500 to 1,000 gold behind. Even Dragon looks like a tough ask for Fortnite to pick up, with Spooks already very close.
And especially Swiper doing his classic roam at around this 10-minute mark. Just lets go of that top side of the map, doesn't mind about it because he wants to help get his team that Dragon. And look at him, just lumberjacking, just wandering through the river because he's so tanky right now. Has that Giant's Belt, has that extra cloth armor as well as that... I've forgotten what that item's name is. Glacial Shroud?
The Glacial Shroud.
Nailed it. We got there in the end, ladies and gentlemen. This Dragon not going to be taken just yet. Swiper is in position, but it has given Carlos his god time to come down. And his Rage Bar is looking just about ready to head towards that Mega Gnar position.
Spooks is actually committed to double Ruby Crystal for a bit more combat stats this early. Of course, probably we'll build that into, I can only assume, will be maybe a Locket of the Iron Solari. So we'll put those to good use. Of course, now on this patch, builds into Giant's Belt as well. The result you can say, though, is a lot of tanky stats. The Chiefs want this first Dragon.
Oh, they do. Fortnite are vying for position, though. They have the pink ward on the Dragon here as well as Preyseeker tries to steal away that Scuttle Crab. Doesn't find it. Q not going to find Swiper here either as he's standing towards the offside. CNJ gets hit by a little bit of poke and Swiper's going to throw out some himself, but the Chiefs... Oh, Swiper gets knocked up here by the flag and drag. Radiant looks for some damage. Look at that Rend doing so much work to Naya as Swiper going to head out of that one. Smoke screen from CNJ trying to do some work. Wanders out of that Dark Binding quite casually.
And Swiper's holding onto the unstoppable onslaught. It's very difficult to fight in these enclosed areas and use that Sign ultimate, barring a point range, melee range ultimate. So they have to be very careful with how they engage this fight, but a lot of engaged pressure. He's coming in!
There's the unstoppable onslaught, but hits a wall. A little bit unfortunate there by Swiper, trying to get something started, of course. That Glacial Path from Moya, very handy for getting out of the way of these Scions.
Yeah, maybe a mulligan for the first unstoppable onslaught of the day.
Yeah. We'll give him that. It'll be okay. Tunnels being set up here by Spooks. Blue buff is available here as red buff is for Fortnite. Chiefs and Fortnite just not looking to go for this Dragon. I mean, they've sort of ceded that position and now looking for some sort of siege here in the mid lane.
You may ask, why is this game gone this way? And you have to remember, this is a Casson. There's a scaling Rod of Ages advantage happening on the Chiefs side, and we've already said that Fortnite have the mid-game comp. It was the onus was on Fortnite to pick up the first Dragon to convert their early kills and pressure into an objective, and they're going to try and win a fight.
Yeah, this could be a 4v5 here as the Chiefs get aggressed on by Naya, but he's going down solo. Immediately, Spooks gets exploded. Swiffer picks up a kill. Swiper is so big in the backline, but they're ignoring him exactly like you should, as there's the Fates call coming in. Moya gets taken down solo, but this is what it's all about. Fortnite trying to destroy the Chiefs. Radiant falls down. Zaldo somehow survives as CNJ is looking for yet another kill, but so far, a 2 for 3 going Fortnite's way.
Fortnite, you have to respect the amount of burst and CC they have. There was no reason for the Chiefs to be grouped there with Kalista split pushing in the bottom lane. Unforced error after unforced error leaves this game surprisingly even at 15 minutes.
And Swiffer actually going to try and clear out this mid-wave. CNJ happy to harass him from range here as well, but level 9 is Swiffer. Can just Rift Walk onto his face if he wants to. Does have that Rod of Ages up to about 3 stacks now as well, so doing well as far as that timing is concerned, but going to take him a little bit of a while to quite get up to speed as far as that item is concerned. And Fornot, they may have an opportunity to sort of capitalize on a slightly underpowered Chiefs at this stage of the game.
In terms of power spikes, Fornot have them in terms of the items they've completed and the timings they're going in. Swiffer tries to have his his back cancelled there by Naya, doesn't manage to do that. You have to remember that Fornot are the proactive team with the lineup they've picked up. They're the ones that are expecting to pick up the first couple of dragons. That's why the collapse down bottom where they gave away 3 kills was so significant. They need to be on top of this objective. Chiefs are happy to play reactive.
Yeah, and Carlos has got actually teleporting down to this bottom side. You've got Spooks clearing out wards here as well, but they're going to start the dragon up Fornot. Pre-Seeker going to seek it out here as well, as there is a ward in that pit, but it looks like the Chiefs just going to concede it.
Yeah, they were happy to concede it there just because Kassadin was not in position. They'd seen Swiffer backing, so it was actually smart play from Fornot to rotate to their dragon, knowing that Kassadin couldn't impact the fight. Good play.
And it looks like Spooks might be going for a Warmogs quite early on in this piece. Does have that Null Magic Mantle there as well, but could be using that to go towards either that Locket of the Iron Solari or, of course, the Banshee's Veil if he wants to stop some of that first moment CC.
CNJ's finishes Infinity Edge, of course, not quite as strong in this patch. They've removed 5% crit chance from that ability. The one-item power spike advantage is definitely with Kalista and the Hurricane. Of course, has the Bilgewater on top of it here. Doing very well for himself is Radiant. They need to keep their support in the bottom lane to help CNJ. Otherwise, Kalista will just continue to free farm and get to that late game phase.
Yeah, and the dangerous thing here, if you're a Fornot fan, is the fact that Swiffer, he's on 4-2-1 now. After all of that dust settled, he did fantastically in that last engagement and able to pick up himself that Fiendish Codex and also a Null Magic Mantle of his own. So not entirely sure what that's going to go to, but it might be those Mercury's Treads being built up first by this Kassadin. It doesn't want to be locked down.
There is the potential for the Athene's Unholy Grail with that Null Magic Mantle. Spooks' ultimate comes in, but it just means he's going to do some more farming with that Ranger's Trailblazer. I mean, it could be the Athenes, it could be a Merc Tread into Morellonomicon. Morellonomicon's quite a common second item pickup on the Kassadin, just to help him with his spell rotations in a fight. It's the offensive option would definitely be the Morellonomicon, so that's what I'm expecting from Swiffer.
Yeah, well, that's true. If you think about it that way, what would Swiffer do? And that is going to be the Nomicon. Swiper and Carlos' God, this is a very exciting matchup there in the top lane where basically nothing is going to happen unless they're fighting each other for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, and Swiper's definitely built for team fights. He looked down the lineup of Fornot, 3 auto attackers at minimum. Swiffer's in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, there's the Glacial Tomb coming through here as well as Moya just wanders through the Cataclysm. And Naya is going to pick up that kill. Nicely done here by Fornot. And you can see Naya with huge kill participation on it for his team as well. 7 out of the 9 doing great here on this Jarvan. May have died a few times, but is making up for it here as well by being exactly where he needs to be. And Swiffer did decide to go for those Mercury's Treads, so doesn't want to be locked down.
I mean, makes sense just with what he just witnessed in the mid lane. Maybe it was an adaptation, said, okay, never again.
Doesn't want to. Zenith Blade not going to find its mark here as Zeldo eats a Dark Binding for it. Everyone going to stand the puddle, give Rosie some money here as well. And interesting buys coming through from Rosie here as well. He has an Amp Tome and a Ruby Crystal.
I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to commit to a Haunting, guys.
I know, that's what I want.
But if you want to say, I mean, if you want to talk about builds, Rosie was one of the innovators of very aggressive support builds. He always loved picking up the cheaper Morellonomicon on those supports, would forego perhaps some of the ward coverage and just snowball it out with combat stats. So probably not too surprising to see a bit of Amp Tome action in there.
Yeah, of course not. Of course, he was an avid Zyra player early on as well, and often did a large amount of the damage for his team as Moya gets aggressed on by Swiffer here, who's relatively tanky as well as having so much AP now that Rod of Ages is halfway stacked. Chiefs getting aggressed on here on the bottom side of the map though. Radiant being forced out very quickly. Fate's Call is going to be used onto Rosie and they go straight back in. Swiper's here. Unstoppable Onslaught gets the knock up here as well as there's a nice Dark Binding from Rosie. Radiant trying to dance around this fight. Zaldo gets knocked up as Spooks finds his way in. Radiant does fall down. The fight with Naya not going to work out for him as the 1v1 in the mid lane at the same time. Spooks tunnels on top of Naya. The Prey Seeker going to find him. And Swiffer going to try and join this party. Naya's on a wild goose chase here. Going to flag and drag her over the wall, but Riftwalk, that'll be able to follow him. And Prey Seeker comes in as well. Now, you are definitely dead as CNJ comes down just to try and hold this mid.
Yeah, long, unorganized fight across the map there. It was interesting to see Radia so smart in his use of Fate's Call. It looked like they would all escape, but they kind of left Radia to die in the back. But it doesn't matter when you've got Swiffer and Spooks doing a lot of damage in the front lines. They can let their hypercarry die at this early stage and not be punished for it.
Yeah, and this is sort of the Chiefs' way as well. They allow Radiant to self-peel, and they're like, you're on Callista, man. Just jump out of the way. You'll be fine. And everyone goes in aggressively. That time didn't quite work out here for the Chiefs initially because, of course, they lost their AD carry, but worked out in the end.
Almost feels like Radiant's success will kind of change depending on whether escaped AD carries out in the meta or not.
Yeah.
He needs that self-peeling because Rosie's not interested in it at all.
Now, well, talk to CNJ. I mean, that guy plays Ezreal a lot, and Radia, no stranger to Ezreal play. And if you're going to go with safe, that's pretty much the best option.
Yeah. Either that or Corki.
Yeah, true.
Good in all that matters. Good on all days.
Yeah, Corki, the champion that comes out every time Worlds is around.
So we see Radia just picking up farm in the bot. Cassidy is playing so aggressive. We saw him get caught out, and then we saw him get a solo kill. But what Swift is doing is he's buying so much attention in the mid lane. Naya kind of has to consistently be present in the mid lane because he's rift walking onto Moya every time and giving Radia so much time to farm in the bottom lane. You have to put all your resources into stopping Swiffer, aggress, and solo queue your mid laner. You have no time to help out CNJ while Radia free farms is ahead in farm against this Graves. And we know the potential in the late game of the Callista. So there's no good choices here for Fortnite. Good teams, they don't give you easy options. There's no one way to win this game with both hypercarries going off in their respective lanes.
And you can see as well now the Chiefs looking for that last outer turret that they have left up on this map. Of course, looking at that kill score, 10-10. This game looks very, very close on paper, but you can see that farm really now starting to make a difference in favor of the Chiefs. The next dragon is going to be started up here by Fortnite. Of course, the Chiefs do have the timer, and there's the Void Rush to come through here as well from Spooks. The unstoppable onslaught right in. They do secure the dragon here, but the front line's all the way in. Swiper gets ultimated here from Moya, and Radiant trying to dance around the fight, but he gets stunned up, and he's dead already. The Death Defier comes through from Swiper, and Rosie's gonna die as well. Fortnite turning around a beautiful fight, and Swiffer, the only one alive, beautifully executed from Fortnite.
For the second time in a row, Chiefs really leave their positioning to be desired. Spooks went in for the steal, died instantly, and then Chiefs were kind of skirmishing in different fronts while Fortnite were grouped as 5, focusing down targets. Great play calling from Fortnite to call out those targets, but Chiefs, they need to pick it up or they will lose this game.
They most definitely will, and is this about sort of not respecting Fortnite enough and not really knowing when the power spikes are here for the Chiefs?
Well, I mean, the moment that Spooks came in with the ultimate, he was already going to be split from his team. The other 4 members should have committed to an engaged 4-man strong on the dragon, but they were trying to wrestle with one carry. As we see Swiffer going aggressive, he gets one kill.
Oh my gosh, he gets the shutdown here, still isn't dead. Rift walks to safety, Dark Binding, gets listed lazily out of the way off here by Moya as Prey Seeker looks for him, but I have no idea how Swiffer survived that. Flash Rift Walk and secures CNJ. Beautiful play, and he's the saving grace for this game, you have to think.
Yeah, he's playing so aggressively in mid. He's been picked off a couple of times, but he's buying Chiefs time after these poor little misplays we see consistently around objectives. It's 2 dragons to Fortnite. It could have been more if Fortnite were more assertive with early dragon control.
And what do you think about CNJ picking up this Phantom Dancer as his next item? Do you think that a Ghost Blade might have been better for that mid-game power spike?
I mean, the thing about the current Phantom Dancer is if you don't start with, say, an early Avarice Blade that prices you into a Yoma's Ghost Blade, the completed Phantom Dancer on this patch with the 35% crit chance, I mean, IE Phantom Dancer does massive amounts of auto attack damage, so I don't mind opting into it if it fits your gold buys. And that's kind of how AD carries are. It's like kind of the untold secrets of AD carries.
Yep.
When you back, do you have enough for Avarice Blade? Do you have enough for Zeal? And you just kind of go from there. It's not a big difference. And of course, in the late game, Phantom Dancer wins out every time.
Yep, CNJ Heading up towards this top side, Spook's going to have to give away that farm. Was going to go for some sort of split push and just ultimates his way to safety. No problem there at all. And Fortnite just going to watch this Rek'Sai zoom past them.
Chiefs need to team fight as a team, especially with not an immovable AD carry, but kind of a carry that needs to be auto-attacking and thus peeled for. If the support is not next to Kalista and peeling for him, I mean, Kalista can just fall down instantly, and then all the damage work relies on Swiffer. If you're looking for a one-man carry, a fed hyper carry Kassadin, it's a good start, but it's not enough for Chiefs to win this game.
Yeah, and Radiant needs to be getting these resets in these fights as well. That Ren does so much damage potential, and you remove that, and the Chiefs lose a gigantic tool, and Swipe is going to be doing no damage. Spooks he's built a Warmox. He's not going to be doing the damage that he needs to as this mid-game rolls around. He's not like Carbon's Rek'Sai, who had a Trinity Force, as we mentioned earlier on, but you can see Fortnite with still a gold advantage. No dragons to be picked up yet from the Chiefs. And Fortnite, sort of their game now, so they really need to be the ones starting to press this advantage that they have, and this is a test for a lot of these teams here as well, because of course the Chiefs, massive legacy, and a lot of teams overly respect them into the point where sort of they're not going to be making these aggressive moves.
Yeah, we see it often is the Chiefs with a mid-game comp against a reactive or late-game focused comp from the enemy team, and then the game kind of snowballs away, and by 25 minutes, the Chiefs are 10k ahead.
Yeah.
We definitely don't get that flavor here. Fortnite have picked the proactive team. Okay, they could have been slightly more active. If that turret dive hadn't happened earlier where they lost a few members with Sion's teleport, they would have had a kill advantage. They would have been able to take an earlier dragon, so perhaps they'd be setting up for their fourth in a couple of minutes rather than just their third. But at least they've gotten the minimum that this comp demands. They've gotten the 2 dragons. They've had some very smart team fighting mechanics. Their target selection and team fighting has been good. And you just have to look at Radia's build here to know that he's a team fighting AD carry. He's got the Hurricane. That's the standard pickup on Kalista, but it's all about long fights where you're being peeled for. Chiefs are ignoring Radia. He's dying and just contributing nothing.
Yeah, and this is beautiful from Fortnite as well. They're grouping up. They're doing a lot of damage here on this bottom side. Radiant spreading that rend across everyone. Swiper finds his way in, forcing a flash out of Naya here as well. They're not wanting to commit sort of 4 versus 5, but the rest of the members of the Chiefs have found their way around. Swiper going to get slowed down just a little bit, and Fortnite do back away, and they have to respect Swiffer. He has a death cap now.
Yeah, he went for the absolute most aggressive item choice he could, just stacking the flat AP. CNJ is going to have to play so smartly in fights because the Rift Walk damage coming through from the death cap here, once the Rift Walk comes in, people are going to die instantly.
They most definitely are. The Chiefs continuing the chase here. Moya gets flacked on. Look at that damage. Frozen Tombs himself just in time. There's the Zhonya's there as well. See whether the Chiefs can dance around this one. Radiant dodges the first ultimate. Spook's getting taken down very, very low in the backside. Carlos has got his huge. The double Gnar into the double wall up here as well as CNJ trying to follow up with a lot of damage. Swiper's so low. He has to get out of this fight. Dark Binding lands and the Chiefs, they're forced to disengage as no member of Fortnite is dead. And I have no idea how Moya survived it. Rosie is forced to use that flash, and we'll see whether he's going to survive this one. Swiper gets the slow, charges up that Q just in order to get Rosie to safety, and nothing more going to be gained here, but 13 seconds on this dragon with no jungler. Void Rush, though, is available.
Fortnite's front line stood up so big in that fight. The engage from Carlos' god was wonderfully strong, but the dragon could be on here.
Yep, Fortnite are preparing themselves for their 3rd dragon. The teleport to come through as Swift has come around the backside here as well. There's the Ignite on Naya. Swiper wants to find his way in, has the Unstoppable Onslaught, and just crashes immediately into the wall.
The second mulligan we'll talk about here. The first one was understandable, the second one's a bit poor, but they do manage to corral the Chiefs into the dragon, force Fortnite to back away. The first dragon comes in.
Yep, beautiful play coming through from the Chiefs. Force them off the dragon, pick up their first, and that is very good. Also denying the 3rd dragon from Fortnite here for that movement speed, which would have got them around the map, able to make more of these proactive moves that we were talking about them needing to do.
And you start looking at this front line. Whenever Kalista's in the game, you want to see, okay, how much damage do I need to do to the front line to get the damage on, to spread the rend onto the priority targets? We already saw Carlos God and Naya. They're so strong already in the front line. Once this randomness is completed from Naya, it's going to be very hard for Radiant to break through the front line. He needs the AoE damage coming in from Swiffer. It's actually good that he's stacked damage rather than going for more of a utility build, because if they can chunk down this front line, Kalista will run wild on the back line.
Yep, Fortnite now setting up the vision around this Baron as well. They do manage to take down that Scuttle Crab. Don't quite kill that ward, but they've got a lot of sweeping ability now in that particular area. Zaldo going to take a Force Pulse to the face here as well. Takes a fair bit of damage, but he's pretty tanky at this stage on this Leona. And Naya now clearing out this top wave. Pings are in mid here for the Chiefs, but they are going to go and defend this inner turret in the top side. We'll see whether any aggressive movements are going to be made. Swiper standing at the front, does get a few slows to come down. CNJ able to clear out these minion waves very, very quickly. Look at that Force Pulse across 4 members, doing so much work, as Swiffer has taken about half of his health, but he doesn't need very much time to destroy someone in these fights.
Worth knowing that the 6th man, the minion wave in the bottom lane, is pushing very strongly here for Fornot. So it's a good time to group with a minion wave. But look at Spooks, he's so smart. He notices that the minion wave in mid has been pushing aggressively for a long time. Even though he's not built damage, he has the global. He can get back to this fight.
Yeah, there's actually the engage to come through from Fornot here as well. The ultimate down onto Swiffer, but Radiant doing so much work here in the backside. Swiffer does fall down. Swiper trying to tank this one up. Look at the massive knockup. The Soul Shackles across everyone on Fornot, and they are melting. The double kill now for Radiant, who's somehow still alive. Triple kill now, and Zaldo, you're in so much trouble. Arrow not quite gonna find the kill, but he has to get out. The tunnel over the wall, unburrowed for the ace for the Chiefs, and never count them out of these matchups.
Rosie's Soul Shackles was so insane. That's what Fate's Call allows you to get in the middle of a fight. Confirmed it on the whole team, and Sion was the unsung hero there. Swiper, it's the second performance on this champion where he just doesn't die. He lives so long standing in the front line. The Chiefs, they should be able to trade tank and pick up this Baron.
Yeah, and Radiant able to do so much work with this Rend here as well. We'll see how much health it does actually die on, because look at how many spears are stuck through that guy. Perfect timing on the Rend, then Smite. Take it down from about a third health. Well, let's have a look at it again.
We watched the replay. They use so much on Swiffer that although Moya dies, they get their man. But watch Swiper and how much he's tanking. He's tanking 4 members damage confidently. The Soul Shackles comes in, and it's just massive. And Radiant, he's got enough health at this point, and so much CC's been used that he can free hit away, get the Ren set, triple kill comes in, and then Spooks eventually finishes it off for a big team fight win for Chiefs.
Yeah, and that Baron as well, which we have to mention. Still the kills. Very, very even. Only about 3,000 gold now, the advantage for the Chiefs. But Fornot, if they give away one of those fights yet again, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to come back to this one. And they poured so much onto Swiffer, who's very soon going to have a Zhonya's Hourglass. And if they tunnel vision on him again, he's just going to pop that and not take anything.
I feel like the Zhonya's Hourglass is a super important purchase for Swiffer. I can understand opting into the Death Cap second, just because, again, if you get the members low, Kalista will do all the damage for you. But the issue here is he's actually opted into the Merlonomicon second. He's a complete Zhonya's away in terms of gold. He's only got 100 to 200 gold on him. So the Zhonya's is far away, and if he does die instantly, he is still very targetable by Moya, and being DPS down by CNJ, doesn't have any armor picked up at all. If he's DPS down at the front line, fights with Kalista are so polarized. Either she gets the Ren set, gets 3 or 4 kills, but she was so close to dying in that last fight that if that happens again, teamfights can definitely go on the advantage of Fornot.
Oh yeah, they're hanging on a knife edge at this stage. But Swiffer has finished off that Morellonomicon. That's an extra 20% CDR. He'll be able to stack up that Riftwalk and get to the point where he uses his entire mana pool in order to use that ability very quickly. As Fornot now have to fight these Baroned up Indians, and they're going to win this one as 2 inner turrets fall down after the split push from Swiffer begins. And the Chiefs now starting to strangle. This is where they feel most comfortable, when they're just inside the enemy jungle. Look at their jungle, completely dark. But they have got so much vision, especially on this bottom side. Dragon coming up in another 50 seconds. You have to think that the Chiefs really want to be taking that one. They want to start putting pressure on these neutral objectives and control them for themselves, because now the tides have turned. And now that the Chiefs have control of the game and the onus is on them to make the moves, we know that they can.
And the neural network that Spooks has been able to put down, because of all the vision advantages that the Chiefs have, allows him to split push so freely here, because he has complete global control to get to the Dragon, to have responded to a fight in the bottom lane here for Fornot. Chiefs have so many options, and Fornot, they're being kind of strangled out of this game.
Yeah, and the thing that I do want to mention that might be a little bit of an oversight from the Chiefs here as well is the fact that there is no QSS and no Mikhails even slightly started from Rosie.
Let's be real. I don't know if Rosie knows that Mikhails is an item. I think he just tunnels on the ability power page when he's playing these mage champions. That's his flavor, but one adaptation Radio's gone for. It's not the QSS, but he has so much lifesteal between the Blade of the Ruined King and the Bloodthirster, and it combines with the Hurricane. It's kind of a forgotten interaction, but because the Hurricane applies lifesteal as a on-hit effect on the side bolts, the effective lifesteal he's got at this point is probably 50-60% on every auto. If he's free hitting at the back, as expected, if he isn't the recipient of that Moya ultimate, he should have so much lifesteal that it kind of benefits him more than maybe a QSS would at this point.
Yeah, but still, if he does get ulted,
he's dead.
He's just very dead. But we'll see whether it does pay off here because, of course, they have to use so much on Swiffer, and it might be one of those reactions where they're just like, well, if they're focusing Swiffer, maybe I'll just build as much damage as possible. And you can see he's got the last Whisper now. That's a 4 damage item Radier here on Kalista. Terrifying to deal with, and he's going to be cutting through these Randuins.
And now we're talking about CNJ. Okay, he has the 3 big damage items working to a 4th of the Blade of the Ruined King, but look at the front line he's dealing with here. It's a Warmog's Frozen Heart Thornmail Swiper, a Randuin's Warmog's Thornmail Spooks. Okay, Graves is a better tank buster than, say, Kalista, but these tanks, they're god tanks at this point.
Oh, yeah, and if you're talking about someone being a tanky man, Sion is certainly able to do that. Look at how much health he has. That's very close to 5,000. Here with only, you know, 1 item that's giving him extra health. It's terrifying.
He's a very tanky man. He's probably working on the Righteous Glory as well for more initiation potential with that unstoppable onslaught.
Yeah, and Swiffer now just hanging around here looking for the potential assassination. He's going to find CNJ, but Force Pulse doesn't land. Rosie looks for the Dark Binding, but doesn't find it, and Swiffer needs to respect CNJ. Those crits are really starting to hurt. There's the flash forward! Collateral damage doesn't pick up the kill, but CNJ, massive props for going for that play.
Yeah, but the props have to be outweighed by the fact he does not have flash available. Almost gets the assassination on Swiffer, and Radier's in trouble too.
Yeah, they're actually baiting in for this one, potentially. There's the ultimate to come through. Void Rush from Spooks into the backside. Carlos is God, not going to use that teleport in order to get in. Does have Rage up to a fantastic point here for Nah, as the red buff is going to be secured here by Fornot, but a little bit of cheeky play coming through from the Chiefs so far.
Yeah, both supports are definitely foregoing the utility items for more combat stats. We can see the Randuin's very close to being completed by Zaldo. Another person that's going to try and get on top of Kalista and stop her from ordering in a fight. And if there is no QSS built as a 6th item coming out from Radier, I worry for him because, again, it's not quite the Thornmail point, but Fornot are super tanky. Even their support is super hard for Kalista DPS down. If she's separated from the other members in a fight and they can kill Swiffer, who's obviously going for a Void Staff rather than a Zhonya, one of these threats falls down for Chiefs and their team comp falls apart.
And this might just be Swiffer being a little bit scared to pick up that Zhonya's. I mean, we remember from that fated loss after the pentakill, missing the Zhonyas in the Baron Pit. Oh, he'll never live that one down.
I don't know about your reverse causality. It's definitely too much headstrong from Swiffer.
And he's built that item a lot over the years.
He loves to go in there and do big damage. That's the Swiffer we know and love.
Shout out to Minky Whale.
Shout out to Minky Whale, doing the big damage.
And building Rabbidan's death caps on everyone possible. But so far, it is going to be the Baron up in another 14 seconds here. The Chiefs are looking to put pressure onto that one. Did manage to pick up the first here as well. Dragon was just taken by the Chiefs, evening it out 2 for 2 now.
Oh, we actually see that CNJ is committed to clearing the waves in bottom. He will not be at this Baron fight. It could be a free Baron for Chiefs.
Yeah, CNJ a long way away, as you mentioned, and Radier able to get a lot of Rens onto this Baron. He's doing so much damage to it as well. Already down to half health. Fornot, they are here. They do want to try and go for some sort of steal, but going for it on a Kalista is very, very dangerous. Oh my gosh, the amount of damage to come through from Radier is so safe there on the backside. The Zhonya's Hourglass going to be blown here from Moya. Tries to turn that one back around, but the Chiefs are tearing through this team. Radier, he's still alive, just auto-attacking Naya in the face. Carlos is gone. There's the double kill. Swiffer just finishing off all of the hard work that Radier put in. Doesn't even die. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful, clean ace for for the Chiefs.
Fortnite put all their eggs in the assassinate Radier bucket. It did not work. CNJ showed up to the fight late and was assassinated by Spooks and Swiffer in the backline. Radier lives, and once you hear those two facts, you know that it's a team fight win for the Chiefs.
And this is so terrifying as well. Radier having such a fantastic performance on Callista, and we've seen her be so devastating. We thought that this may be the one Achilles heel that Radier did have, but we've seen today that is not going to be it.
Yeah, the scouting report actually from SoloQ was that Radier didn't play the Callista, didn't favor that champion, and it seems like that was a bit of a red herring coming out as, okay, it might not be Corki level, but clearly able to pick up that Callista at competitive League of Legends, no problem.
No worries at all, as the Righteous Glory going to be completed here from Swiper as well. He's going to be able to run super fast into these fights. Rosie going towards Zhonya's Hourglass, finishes the Morellonomicon up first, of course, because it's Rosie. He just wants flat damage if he can, and a lot of cooldown reduction so he can do as many buttons as possible in a fight. 21 now to 16 in these kills. 10,000 gold is the lead, and Chiefs, they begin to run away with this game.
It's becoming harder and harder to get that assassination onto the Callista with all the lifesteal, through the Black Shield, which, of course, we have to mention, it does get AP scaling, so a little bit of defensive flavor coming out of this. The fat stacks of AP coming out of Morgana.
Oh, save that for the rich game games, please, Papa.
I'll do my best.
Oh my goodness. It is actually going to be a Guardian Angel here picked up from Radier, though. So if they blow everything on that guy, he's going to die and then just lifesteal up super quickly afterwards. Sort of a different option to go for instead of that QSS, but has a similar thing going to happen here. As Rosie going to have that Black Shield popped here as well. This might be a catch from Fortnite, but we've got the teleport and the ultimate coming through from Spooks. They're trying to turn it around. Swiper tanking out so much damage. Moya using his ultimate defensively. Swiper's going to fall down, but he did so much tanking. CNJ in the backside. Could he be what Fortnite need? But no, he's going to be forced out of this fight as Naya is just going to get resetted on. And Radier now with the double kill. 6-item Callista is terrifying. And CNJ is running for the hills as Carlos' God is just going to back at about 3/4 health. Spooks hunting this AD carry. He's gonna flash, gonna be able to get to safety here relatively, but Super Creeps now pushing into the base, and look at Radier tearing apart these Nexus turrets. CNJ back at full health. He is gonna jump through. Wallop not gonna find its mark here as Blade of the Ruin King gonna get used by Radier. He has so much life still and rends the members of Fortnite to pieces.
It was just an insane fight there, Atlas. At the start of the fight, we actually saw Scion and Swiffer being blown away by CNJ, and I thought, all right, this must have been the fight that the Chiefs would lose, but it's so different because Callista showed up. She was full health with Guardian Angel and a Black Shield, and everyone died.
Yeah, it was beautiful play coming through from the Chiefs, of course. That last moment, I thought CNJ might be able to do it, but his front line melted, and he wasn't able to do anything there in that backside. But Fortnite put up a fantastic showing against the undefeated Chiefs, now looking to go against arguably their toughest rivals in Direwolves up next.
Yeah, I mean, they built up a bit of momentum there, Chiefs, but they need to iron up some of their issues in the early game. It was quite poor play from them, over-aggression at times with a comp that was against a very powerful mid-game comp, we have to say. But we'll go to a replay to see the other side of it for the Chiefs, some of the excellent team fighting that came out of them. So this is a mid-game fight. We'll roll the tape here. And although Fortnite are in a good position to engage a fight, they use everything on Swiffer to the point that all their cooldowns are down before Radier shows up. Radier here was already free autoing at the start. He hasn't committed to a rend yet, and once the Soul Shackles comes out, this is the rend set we talk about. Double kill becomes a triple kill so easily for Callista. It's such a weird position. It's why I actually like the Guardian Angel pickup. Usually I'm not a big fan of Guardian Angel and AD carries because if you die once, you're squishy. You'll probably die a second time. But with Callista, you kill her once. You know, you have that 2.5 seconds of effective stasis while they're going through the animation. You change target to someone out. If you wait too long, she'll come back with 50% lifesteal and be back at full health, and you'll have to deal with a full health Callista again, almost reborn like a Yorick ultimate or something through that Guardian Angel. And Callista started really roughly, but we see why she's so respected across all the scenes. So much AoE damage.
Yeah, and Radier showing such proficiency on that champion as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a short break. Direwolves taking on the Chiefs. Both of our undefeated teams coming up next, and you don't